settings window is not the issue.
Something with translation.
Yeah, can I record a button?
Yes.
Also settings the titles.
But maybe
The entire, basically everything.
wrong could go loading the language actually.
Yeah, well, it works for me, so. Is this me, Jitsi?
Yeah.
Into your console.
You can moderate on
There is a typo. Okay. Another screen. Understand that?
Okay, can you close the door, please?
This is the bad one. Oh, yeah.
Or are you ready?
For example,
yes.
I mean, if you have additional something like that, or you just add. Maybe it's not the whole.
Okay. Starting?
Verify.
Yeah. Okay. So hello everyone. It's been a while, so good to see you all back in. I also saw a bunch of people who I hadn't seen before. So if you guys want to say a few words about what you're looking for, if you're just lurking out of curiosity, or you want to tell us more about your use case, that is always very welcome. So I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to do that at the end of the call, so that we can start with a quick progress update from our side, and then we can continue with the presentations. So is there? First of all, can someone confirm that you hear us clearly enough?
Sounds good.
All right, thank you very much. So one of the main efforts in the past months, well, actually, there's probably have a few, but you all know about simulcast. Let me say a few words about that, and then George and Lugo, where's Lugo? He's not here. Maybe he's in the virtual. Is Lugo in the meeting? No, okay. Well, George will be able to give more details, but basically, simulcast is finished. And the reason we haven't updated Jitsi to actually use simulcast is because we found out that the Chrome clients ramp up their bit rate way too slowly. It takes quite a while for them to get up to 720p. So we're trying to figure out, Luke is actually working on a way to figure out how to make that faster. Also, George is going to talk a little bit about one of the other problems that we have, and if anyone can ping any of the Google guys or comment on a post that George left on Discuss Web RDC, that would be very helpful. Another effort that has been taking a lot of resources on our side is switching Jitsi over the Jitsi library, and this is pretty much done. We're hoping to do the switch this week. So basically, everything we do will be based on the library, which means that everyone using the library can be reassured that we are in the same use case, and it's just as important for us to use it. It's not second-class citizen. I think this is this is enough for the introduction. Who wants to start and give us a more specific update about what they've been doing? Okay, George. So,
I'm right next to the microphone so that you can hear me. Hi, this is George. Oh, sorry, man. So, in the past few weeks, we have been fine-tuning Simulcast. Everything is there, the code is there, and we have actually we have a better environment enabled with Simulcast. We have a few outstanding issues right now. For example, what Emil said about the fast ramp-ups. Where Lubo is trying to translate and port all the changes in the Google's remote bitrate estimator into our implementation, which will greatly help improve this situation. And we are
well, we
also,
don't know. We hope it will.
we hope it will. We hope it will. And the other thing that we're going to try, if that doesn't work, is have a look at the layer, how Google is signaling simulcast in their SDP. Maybe they use some hidden parameters or some non-standard options to enable it. So that's one thing that's blocking us, as Emil said, from enabling it in production. The other thing, which is not really a blocker because we don't know exactly what to do and how to deal with the situation, is what do we call NAC storms. And what happens is that the client is sending occasionally a bunch of NACs for packets that it has already received. So the client receives the packets, it decrypts them, it puts them in its jitter buffer, but somehow they're dropped there, maybe because the jitter buffer gets reinitialized, or maybe because it gets full and it has to drop some packets. I'm not sure why, but it drops them. And eventually it's going to need those packets, and they will not be in the jitter buffer. So it's going to ask for a retransmission of those packets, and the bridge is going to retransmit them. But as the SRTP layer of the client has already seen those packets, it's going to drop them as replay attacks. So we either have to figure out what's wrong and fix the situation, or the workaround that seems to be possible here is to enable.
No, that's not a workaround.
That's not a workaround?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Basically, George, means that we can implement the proper RDX, which would make the retransmissions coming to a different SSRC, so they won't be dropped as replay attacks, but we don't want that because, I mean, you've received a healthy packet. Asking for a retransmission has a 50-50 chance that it won't arrive in time and it will still fuck up your picture. So I don't want us to consider that as a workaround.
Okay, well.
I'd rather we go in and manifest and demonstrate in front of Google's offices and get them fix their issue.
Yeah, I suppose that's another workaround. Yeah, the other thing that I've also done is we have a race condition in when video muting and unmuting happened, and or when activating and deactivating screen sharing. So a few packets, when that happened, when we're video muting or unmuting or switching streams, a few unrewritten packets were leaking through the bridge, and that's because the bridge wasn't configured in time to rewrite those packets. So they were just leaking, and the endpoints were sending screen sharing, or they were unmuting their streams, and the bridge wasn't ready to rewrite those packets, and they were passing through the bridge. And this caused the receiver stack, SRTP stack, to initialize with the wrong sequence numbers. And so when the bridge got configured eventually, and starts rewriting the packets, the receiver start dropping all the packets because their SRTP stack was configured with the wrong sequence numbers. So that's been fixed. And what I'm working on right now is performance evaluation of the simulcast. but the bridge is still in an unstable state for now. So because there have been some race conditions that we have fixed, but those fixes caused other issues. Bob is going to talk to you. He's going to talk more about this situation. So yeah, right now the bridge is not in the best shape ever. And yeah, that's all I have to share for today.
Hey George, what did you guys end up doing about Chrome just randomly deciding when to stop sending its layers and the simulcast layers? Did you guys come up with anything good for that? Has that been all right?
What we do is we're counting frames, and for example, if we don't see a high quality frame for every 3 lower layer quality frames, we just decide that this stream has been stopped. The situation hasn't changed. Google they still do what they were doing. They have been always doing. So we just deal with a situation like this.
Okay.
And it's working out pretty well.
Cool.
The basic change from before is that we are looking into the frames and no longer just packets. So that allows us to be much snappier than before.
Is that about temporal scalability or?
No, that's just simulcast switching from one layer to another.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, George. Yeah, so George gave a quick update on the fact that you're updating our bandwidth estimation to match the latest implementation from Google. Do you want to add anything to that?
Well, it's still a work in progress. And the unfortunate thing is that Google implemented 2 types of bit rate estimators. So we have just one. And since it's a translation, there's an internal, well, not a debate, but a conversation of whether we should switch to the native source code of WebRTC and use that in order to be able to more quickly inherit whatever improvements Google is making. But apart from that, that's what I'm doing now. For last week, I had in my to-do list to review Brian's new submissions to the long polling, but that has been pushed for this week.
Yeah, we promised we'll do it this week. Just to something that I should have told you last week, Brian said that this is not meant to be a last version. He just wants the confirmation of the direction.
Yeah, this is just the move to the ASIC context, just to make sure that this is what you had in mind, Lubo, and then it's clean up. So did he say that that you guys were considering running the native stack on the bridge?
Not the native stack, just the bandwidth estimator classes.
Okay.
Because this is the 3rd time that we're updating or rewriting our implementation, and it just sounds like a wasted effort.
Is this? We've seen some examples of like the bitrate getting stuck at like 30K. Is this related to updating that code, or is that maybe something else? Because we haven't dug into it yet, but it's something
we haven't really debugged that yet. So let's cross our fingers that we're gonna fix those issues.
And depending on which version of the bridge you're using, so we have this situation right now where which version of the bridge are you using actually? Are you using the latest one?
This was, I think I noticed this seemed to happen after I just rebased. We had to rebase the other day because of the FMJ library thing. So this was probably as of Thursday or Friday.
Have you noticed any exceptions when that happens?
I haven't checked. I can look for that next time I see it.
Because we have this situation where we don't expire. Well, there's a problem in the bridge that fails to build, that makes it fail to build RTCP packets, and we're aware of it. Actually, I'm going to work on that right now. So maybe maybe that's the issue that you're having.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Create any RTCP packet basically. So
okay.
yeah, it's an exception, and it also kills RTP packets that happen to to be processed at the same time. So yeah, it's pretty nasty but easy fix. So
Okay. Cool.
Okay, thanks, guys. Yana wanted to go next.
If Bobby's going to add something to simulcast, probably.
Well, not to simulcast.
Okay, it's not to simulcast.
I'm still gonna talk about the bridge.
Okay, let's go with
Can you guys hear Bobby from where he's speaking currently, or is it too silent? Can you say something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So a couple of items for me. First, we redid the last time implementation. It used to be implemented in the video channel class, and it was getting quite complex, so we moved it to another class. On another note, we've been working on adding some automated tests for the video grid performance. It's going to be so after we build, we're going to create a new environment, then run a run of Jitsi torture, then run a bunch of stress tests with a hammer, observe what the CPU usage with other and compare them to a baseline so that we're going to have graphs of how performance changes with time.
Also, this is meant to be used for the graphs, but also we are working on Aaron, who's not here actually, is the main guy working on that. We're working on basically having a similar release cycle as the Jitsi client, or in other words, just make sure that we have a comprehensive amount of testing that is done on the nightly builds. Maybe longer tests than what we do in the nightlies, and try to produce a stable build line that we will be using internally, but also everyone else on the outside can use to make sure that they're not running into deadlocks and that sort of stuff. So things like performance testing, I mean, it depends on exactly how much testing we end up with, but that might potentially be some part of it may be, or some variation of it may be in the stable builds, and some part of it will be in that place. Are you done? Because I wanted to add one more thing.
I'm done.
Okay, another thing that we want to do in the near future, so this is a call for help. I had a chat with Brian last week about it. What we'd like to do is have an easy way to do PSNR testing. So this is something that actually Brian raised some time ago, and initially I was opposed to it because I was thinking this is not, we're not an MCU. There are only so many things that can fuck up in the bridge, and you can pretty much measure all of those by checking up your packet loss and number of frames that are coming in. But it turns out that there are actually more things that can go wrong, are harder to anticipate, and they would always reflect in the quality of the image that you're receiving. So what we'd like to do is, as part of the torture testing, and definitely as a stable build testing, we'd like to have image comparisons, and we'd like to guarantee that quality doesn't go under some threshold. And the reason, what I'm going to ask here, if anyone in the call is aware of, is a tool that would basically produce a PSNR result, or just any noise or difference result between two images. That would be probably the most important brick that we can then build everything on. And Brian has thought that maybe he'd be able to share some of what they've been doing. But if anyone else is ready to use tools, that's also welcome. So this is everything I wanted to say on the topic. Let's continue the round at the table.
So I had one for Boris. Hey Boris, did you take a look at the build stuff? Did you get time to look at the build stuff? The freezing of the library versions, upstream library versions?
Oh no, but that's planned for just layer.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
so on the JavaScript library, we have we haven't switched Meet Jitsi, the service, but we have switched the project. So on the project level, Jitsi Meet already uses the JavaScript library. We have moved the libjitsi Meet. It was a branch before, now it's a separate project. So the library is now separate project, separate repository on GitHub. All features that we had before are now supported in this new version of Jitsi Meet that uses the library. We have done a lot of bug fixing. One of the latest things that we have added support for is screen sharing and statistics. On its way, it's just today or tomorrow we are going to fix that. And we're pretty much done. We have done a lot of bug fixing for Temesis. Maybe Pavel wants to tell more about that, but we have encountered a lot of problems when switching to the library with Temesis, and we have fixed a lot of things. There's still some problems out there that we have to fix this week, but the main functionalities are done and are working on all browsers. So, Paul, would you like to add something about that, about the Temesis support?
Well, so there are many issues in the UI because plugin is handling video and audio objects differently. Actually, it can use HTML, video, and audio elements, so it's interactive object. And also there are differences how events are triggered. So yeah, there are a lot of tricky issues with that, and we're currently working on fixing it.
Yes. And we have fixed actually a lot of bugs in the library and a lot of problems in the client using the library. So yeah, but it's we're almost there, and we have a few things more, but it's almost done. So that's it from me. Emil?
Who would like to go next? Christopher, would you like to share anything?
I think, yeah, I covered the most part of maybe everything that we have done in the library, in the integration branch that now is the master of Jitsi Meet. And I was working on that as well, so.
Okay. I wanted to say something and post it. It will come back to me. Okay. Are there any questions, comments? Would anyone like to share anything else here on the call?
This is Varun. I had a question about
Remember what I wanted to say. Thanks for showing up. So, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that Temesis now has support for stats. This is going to give us a slightly better experience on actually supposedly even a much better experience on Safari and Internet Explorer. So again, Varun, thanks for reminding me of that. Please continue.
Yeah, actually, I was going back to the question that you asked about call to action with the video quality thing. So today we do this on our own system with our own demo application. And when the last time we looked at Jitsi, we couldn't figure out a couple of things, but I could actually enumerate them in an email and send it across to you guys so that you could get back to me on it. One of them would be that, is it possible for it to loop back the video that we sent it back to us. So I send the video stream and it sends back the video stream, and then I could decode both of them and get a YUV file, and then we know what to do with it.
I'm not sure I understand it. Is that something that you want call stats to be able to do, or is that something that you want?
We run an instance of Jitsi ourselves, so it could be on that. We configure the stream, you send me back the same stream that I'm sending you, so that we end it and then yeah, we like we could use Jitsi to do that as well. So is that something that sender and receiver, we add a Y renders, and the other one we decode the YUV file, store it. So we have one sender on one side and one receiver. They're like sent peer to peer, right? So specifically, one way would be that we Chrome sends a video to the bridge does whatever it needs.
Before you go on, so when you do that in peer-to-peer systems, you mean that you guys as a call stat service do that and just to monitor periodically the quality of services, or what do you mean exactly?
I think in the use case, in some cases, is that some people want to know, like, if there was a reference video, how the reference video would degrade in a, let's say, in an enterprise environment, for example, in a, or they would run this anywhere in the world, and they would get something about that video quality information. But if it's Jitsi, it's, I think, like more robust to the sense that you know where the server is, so you send the video from any client somewhere in the world to that video bridge and send it back doing something, so you can kind of get a quality test. So that's one instance of it. You could run multiple of them and probes anywhere in the world on your Jitsi kind of infrastructure, and you would get quality metrics from everywhere. So we're happy to actually provide that kind of thing if there's a way to do the quality.
Yeah, we should talk about this, but do you guys do any analysis on the actual images, or?
That's why I said there's a reference video, and we know that reference video, and we have some metrics that we are tracking. So there's PSNR, there's SSIM, there's like a whole list of metrics that we can draw for that.
Okay. Yeah, we should definitely talk about this. I'm very curious to learn more about this.
Right. So, and this would be like a Docker image that could run from somewhere. So.
Perfect. Okay. Anyone else?
I had another question that was more related to CallStats Java. We've got a bunch of the implementation done. Thank you for that. We're wondering if there is still some cycles left at your end to integrate the conference statistics, or is that something that's stable for later?
I don't think we'll have the time to do that in the next 2 weeks, but potentially after that, yes. Could you, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page, this is about the bridge. So currently CallStats gathers statistics about a specific conference and then sends them to the CallStats service. There's a separate CallStats library that allows you to gather the general statistics of a bridge and send that to the CallStats service. The part that we're missing is gather statistics about a specific call from the view of the bridge and send them to the CallStats service. Now, what I'd like you to remind me, Varun, is how do you handle that data? Do you display it separately, or do you factor it in the display that you already have for an existing call?
The latter.
Okay, that's and how do you treat one of them as more reliable, or do you show means and averages, or?
Well, we haven't seen anything from the bridge, so we have no idea what to do with it, right? So I would love to see the data first, and then then make that decision based on that. And I think you're right. In some sense, we could make much more robust claims and also do some more higher order characteristic analysis, because now we have a middle box which is actually telling us more informed data. For example, losses occurred on the path to the bridge or down from the bridge. So we get uplink and downlink statistics.
Well, this is actually pretty important, and it should allow us to make much stronger assumptions by watching the call stats for a specific call. So we are currently working on a lot of the work that we have for this sprint is on bug fixes, which is the reason I think we might not be able to fit it in the next 2 weeks. But this is just as important, so we'll likely make sure we have it in the next sprint.
Right, and since this is still something that's a work in progress, I think instead of that we can discuss this where the data goes. Maybe we have the test infrastructure for that, and I would like the data to go there. But that's some logistics things that we can do as we did in the past.
Okay. We'll work between ourselves.
Right, and the other thing was about simulcast. Has anyone sent, or have you tried to send simulcast data to CallStats.io, or we would love to see simulcast data to see if there are more events needed?
We should be getting simulcast data from our beta meet Jitsi service. It's enabled there, and you should be getting the data there.
Okay, we will have a look once we have permission.
Yeah, and ping me if something doesn't look right.
Okay, thank you. That was.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, this is Dave Ertl. I had a question around like some of the add-on modules to the video bridge, like Jitsi and JaiRecon. Are those being maintained, or like what's the thought going forward with those?
Well, let's say that we at Atlanta are using them very, very actively. So they don't get the same level of attention as the video bridge and Jitsi Meet right now at this specific time. However, they are definitely things that we consider very important and that we're planning to use in the future. So in that sense of the word, yes, they're maintained and alive and work that we're going to use. It's just that they might be a little bit slower now than the others. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, we have a project coming up to do video recording through the bridge, so I'll probably be looking at the JaiRecon stuff pretty shortly, and hopefully be able to contribute back to that. So,
actually, we might be releasing something else in that direction that might actually work better.
Is it the same approach where it joins as kind of like a dummy component, or?
Well, they all look as a dummy component, but they all look as a fake participant. But in this case, basically it's about removing the post-processing and just doing everything at the same time and obtaining the recording immediately. So,
okay.
Yeah, we could, we'll likely, we have decided to open source that because it's not actually a whole, there's not actually a whole lot. And basically it's about rendering the video on a virtual machine and then recording that rendering, which should give you many more options in terms of how you lay out stuff and that sort of stuff. That was very heavy with JaiRecon. So if you can afford to wait a couple of weeks on that front, then your life might be much easier after that.
Okay, is there a name for something I should look for, or?
Yeah, it's called JBRI.
Okay.
JIBRI. So this is the project that we will release.
Okay, that sounds great. And thank you for the last in fixes that were put in on the split last in branch. That helped out quite a bit.
Well, that's for Boris. So, okay. Any other questions?
I just had one other thing. We saw when we're connecting clients that have a muted video stream, and there are already participants in the conference, If they connect with a muted video stream, the bridge is not forwarding back any of the active streams that are already in the conference. Has anyone else seen that, or is that a known issue?
That sounds like something we had before, but that you shouldn't be having now. Are you working with a recent version of the bridge?
Yeah, 17 as of Linux 627 right now.
Is that something that you're recording on the list?
This sounds like the RTC. Have you added Chrome?
Yes.
So Chrome, we have to explicitly add, the way we do it is we explicitly add an SSRC of 1 to the video bridge channel, because that's the SSRC Chrome will use for RTCP feedback. And that's the only way to get video receiving to a client that's not sending it effectively.
Okay. All right. We'll take a look at that.
So can you tell us more, a little bit more about your use case, Dave? Are you using Meet? Are you writing your own client?
So what we have is we are using of course, the Jitsi video bridge on the back end, but we have our own client that we're using just the standard WebRTC libraries, JavaScript libraries to connect with, and we're using Jingle to talk to it. We have our own XMPP server that acts as a focus between the client and the video bridge.
Okay. All right. So in that case, yeah, Brian is right. Then that sounds like this might be the answer.
Okay.
Also, make sure that you have all of your SSRCs reported. In addition to one, that's also an issue. Although if you're saying that you don't actually see the video coming out of the bridge as opposed to it coming out but not being rendered, then that's more likely an SSRC that hasn't been announced properly to the bridge.
Okay.
Make sure you post on the mailing list if you don't manage to resolve that.
Thank you.
We haven't spoken since a lot of time, so I'd like to take reiterate what I said on the mailing list and thank Chris and the Vinayas team for releasing their iOS client. This is really very awesome. Thank you, Chris, for working on that.
Thank you.
Well, no, thank you. And that's definitely something that we're planning on picking up. And I know that you guys have already said that you're eager to work with us. So this is really very exciting.
Yeah, as I have in the README, we're probably gonna provide a few more updates, to gain the full functionality, but certainly contributions are welcome.
Certainly. And if we manage to provide to stabilize the Jitsi Meet app and make that a part of the official Meet suite, then maybe we'd get lucky, and by the time we're done, all of the Android implementations will be fixed and acting consistently, and we won't have that much work with Android.
Yep. Yeah, certainly we're willing to work together to integrate into a more official Jitsi Meet iOS client.
Thanks very much for that. How are your Jitsi fixes coming along? Vinayak, are you still planning to submit them?
Yeah, I'm working on it. I just got held up with this iOS thing. I think we'll work on those submits for Jitsi.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're actually right in the middle of deploying our SIP network into Jitsi right as we speak. So timing was a little bad on submitting those, but we should get together and try to get those through.
Perfect.
And I had one quick question on, I don't know whether it got answered, regarding reproducing the old builds. Like we're trying to reproduce one which is running in meat at 594 GBP and 185 GCO4. So looks like every time when we try to build, it picks up the latest ones.
So the builds, the way we use Maven, we always use the latest version in the Maven repo. So
For now.
right now, builds are not easily reproducible. You have to manually find what the versions were. But we are planning to ship a fix for this week.
That's what Boris said he will be doing today or tomorrow. So the situation should be easier for now.
Okay, thank you very much.
This is Devin. Just a comment on the bandwidth estimator stuff. We've run into the same issue where the bandwidth ends up being really low. And we have a fix that we're kind of testing that may fix it. I'll have the guy from my team that worked on that post on the mailing list soon. But it sounds like what he did was fix some issues with out of order packets coming in and being factored into the stats. That just dropped all the stats way negative.
I'm sorry, what packets coming in and being factored into the stats?
So like sometimes in like with the NAT cache and like packets coming in out of order, sometimes you would get a packet coming into the bridge and like out of order, and that would screw up the stats. And that seemed, so we put a fix in place that seemed to help a lot with the bandwidth estimation, bring out of order packets in like computing the RTCP reports with termination.
Okay. That sounds very interesting. Yeah, looking forward to hear more about it.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to share anything? Actually, and that might be a bike shed, but I'll go ahead and ask anyway. Does anyone have any suggestions about the way we do this goal? Is structured doing it. They have guests speaking. Typically, free switch do it. Is that something you just or is the current format working well for everyone, where we basically share progress and immediate issues and concerns?
As somebody who's doing integration with libjitsi, I have to say this type of meeting is very beneficial, just to sort of catch up on what everyone else is doing, so that I'm not off working on some piece that you guys are already implementing.
Okay, thanks, Simon. All right, any other thoughts, opinions, comments, and questions? This is last call before we end the call. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. It was good to see you all. Hopefully, it won't be that long before next time we have a call. It certainly won't be. So, looking forward to seeing you all again in 2 weeks. Have a great week. Cheers.